Hello everyone. We'll talk about natural disaster. And if you look into it, I've just colored natural as in the green color and disaster as a red color. It's the warning system that goes around it. Natural is the ecological concepts that brings around when there is an imbalance in the environmental, when there's an imbalance between ecological, it leads to certain events which are detrimental to the lives and properties thereby. So what we need to understand about natural disaster. So disasters could have catastrophic effect on a community, but they are of only two types. One is natural, which we'll be talking in this presentation. The other one is man-made, which is created or handiwork of the human beings thereby. So disaster can be foreseeable. Certain disasters can be, certain cannot be. That is as simple as it is. If there is a man-made, if there's a war pending, there might be threats, there might be posturing that goes around it. So you are able to take some kind of understanding that there might be an outbreak of a war. And then there is something, let's say, a catastrophic earthquake. You cannot predict it. Meteoritic showers, you again cannot predict it. To a certain extent you may, but you might not be able to. The tsunamis, again to a certain extent you may, but you may not be able to control it. This is what disaster is all about it. So you need to understand where you reside, which part of the world you reside, and what all probabilities of what all kind of disaster, the probabilities of happening it out there. Based upon this, you take a decisions altogether. So can we prepare for ourselves? The tornadoes, the hurricanes, the earthquake, the tsunami, the blizzard, the flood, the fire, the terrorist attack, and the violences that is happening in our schools, universities, or should I say in our society. Can be prepared to a certain extent, maybe, perhaps. Allow me to go around it. Can be prepared, maybe, perhaps, tornadoes, hurricanes. Earthquake is something which we cannot predict very clearly. Tsunamis to a certain extent, blizzard to a certain extent, flood to a certain extent, fire again will be very difficult for to predict. Terrorist attack to a certain extent, but this is again depending, and violence is again something which we cannot predict as such. But probably we need to understand what can be done and what cannot be. Depending upon that, we'll take our actions. So, what do we do in terms of tornadoes? What do we do in terms of hurricanes, in earthquake? And you need to understand you have to have an alternative shelter plans. You need to understand if there is a change in the livelihood altogether, say if the community is hampered or bashed in an unprecedented fashion, probably how do you come back to the normal life? This is the question that comes around it. That is what natural disaster is all about. We can solve a problem to a certain extent, let's say providing food or saving life, but can we provide livelihood? That is the bigger question that we are talking about it. So as I have said, there are certain disaster we are not able to predict it completely. Then there are certain disasters we might be able to predict it till 60-65% of probabilities, but we will not be able to predict when it is going to strike. The bigger question is the timing part of it. Just impossible. So how do we do around it? Can we do something called a disaster drills? This is what is very important. Why? Because this will allow us to understand what happens when an actual events happen. The tornado drill is signaled by a bell. That sounds different from a fire drill. Stay calm. Listen to instruction. Do not worry of the personal items as the case might be. That is what we do in disaster drill. You need to understand if there is a signal that comes around it, if there's a bell that is ringing which tells you of certain forthcoming event or disaster. Now, this might be a mock drill altogether, but this will help you to understand in case of a real event what you are should be doing. So you need to understand, stay calm, listen to the instruction. Do not worry about the personal items per se. But that is what needs to be done altogether. This is what we are looking out every now and then. I simply believe in the principle of duck. DUCK. What does it mean? Duck means go down. Go down to the lowest possible level. If you're in a high rise building, please come down to the basement. Absolutely, to the ground level, not to the basement, but to the ground level. You just to get something under. In case you are not able to come down, go under a table, perhaps a bed, perhaps anything that goes strong. So around here, that needs to be understood time and again. So cover your heads. Keep your shelters until the storm has passed. This is what we need to go around it. So D is to go down, U for going getting under, C for covering your head, and K is to keep in shelter. Keep calm until and unless the disaster has passed around it. So steps in disaster drill. What do we go around? In a single file line, go to the designated hallway. Classroom. Stay close together. Remain quiet with your heads against the wall. Duck, cover your head. Remain in this position until everything is clear. Everything is clear for you. That is what needs to be understood all again. You need to ensure that your steps to disaster drill is followed step by step by copybook fashion during the exact event. You need to go down, you need to be under certain things, you need to stay calm, you need to stay together. That is what will help you all together. Remain in this position until and unless everything is cleared down. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching the natural disaster.